the Quadruple Grid Technique, Archangel Michael, and then the legions that he works with have a lot to do with what happened here. The angels of the central sun back up everything that's going on. So you're going to find that when this was typed up, part of it's the Archangel Michael and part of it's the angels of the central sun. The angels of the central sun work very, very closely with the Palegieans. And the Palegieans are all about fairness and goodness and expansion without having somebody held down. They want you to expand. They want you to move forward with ease. And so this was very interesting because the spheres, okay, I'm going to read it and then I'm going to, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask any questions because there will be more, okay? It was designed to clear the fields of energetic junk, they said. They called it that. And I was like, okay, this is how it goes. This is the way you say it in your mind. If you're, you know, like if you're in a public place or you're doing a healing on someone, you say it in your mind like this, okay? Legions of Archangel Michael, grid level 1, spherical around me. Grace, Elohim, grid level 2, spherical around me. Angels of the central sun continuum, grid level 3, spherical around me. Circle, security, grid level 4, spherical around me. Now, this is going to go in different balances. So you have your first one. What you do is you go Legions of the central, or Legions of Archangel Michael, grid level 1, spherical around me. Now, this is a sphere that is constantly moving, okay? And it goes in all directions. I usually will go with the larger one and move in, because each one is even more intense, okay? All right. When you see or feel the spherical grid form around you, it's grace, Elohim, infuse your grids with frequencies and with the aid of liberty and purity. Elohim, spin your grids and reabsorb into God's light all astral entities. Stray electromagnetic frequencies, fear, disharmony, anger, adverse feng shui. I thought it was kind of interesting that they said that, because a lot of times our home will get, like, it can get very clustered or caught up in, so getting rid of all that. The astrological influences, anything that's in your space that is not of light, okay? Expectation, frustration, viruses, fungi, bacteria, worry, astral distortions, miscommunications, sadness, enemy patterning. When you look at it from, would say enemies, I think that they're more like teachers, but a lot of times you can look at it like an adverse thing. So it's better for you to just say it that way, so that way people, when they're listening and you're putting this out, you're going to say this only a few times, and they will automatically get it, and it's going to go into gear.
You have to say this for every sphere, or just the one?
You would say it for every sphere.
So as you're going through this talk part right here.
Yeah, you go first one, grid level 1, spherical around me, and then you go into these words, okay?
Okay. Because
what it does is it leaves very, very little to be misled. Your words are going to be very articulate, and it'll be a few times, and then automatically your crew will get it, and it will automatically start happening.
And then after you say this, you envision the sphere spinning, right? And spinning off this
You're
stuff.
envisioning it in your mind, yes.
And
in mind's eye.
and it's spinning off whatever stuff, right?
And what it is usually you start to you go like this. It's, is that clockwise? Okay, clockwise first?
From the top it's clockwise, yeah.
Okay, from the top. Well, whichever way you want to look at it. I don't know, is it clockwise?
Going up the
So, if you take the point of view of being on Earth.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Looking down, it's
Clockwise, yeah.
So when you do that, okay, and it's better in the beginning to have a smaller bubble at first and play with it like your house. That's small. Okay, and it gets bigger as you get more used to it. I've had it as wide as a mile to clear out anything in my way as I walk into whatever burning building I'm walking into at the time. Because if I know I'm walking into something, I usually am using that. Okay.
So you mean the 1 mile is your imaginary sphere that you're creating?
Yes,
Or your
absolutely. I've done that as
intent-
far as a mile. Sometimes it depends on what's going on. But when I see things a mile out, if I see something a mile out, then I'm gonna go ahead and clear that out because it's affecting the whole area. And then, you know, it needs to be cleaned up. So I'm not really a cleaner, but I'm a cleaner.
So this is cleans up everything in that space.
In that space,
So
yes.
your neighbors and everybody in that space, everything's
Just
gonna be
clears
cleared
everybody
up.
out.
Wow.
You give them the rotor-rooter.
So how often do you,
What?
how often do you do this?
I live like this. And there are a few times where if I get really, really tired, but for the most part, it's usually cleaned up. Because the only way that people really, there are a few ways that they can get into my bubble. And usually it has something to do with when I'm connected to them and working with them one-on-one. So like if I'm working with somebody on the phone, okay, the first thing that goes on is before the phone call, it goes, here we go, okay? And it's usually a few minutes before the phone call, I'll say, oh, okay. And then, you know, and they do their thing so that everybody is cleaned up at the same time when we get connected on the phone. Now, if someone's going through something that is more challenging than usual for them, and they decide to call me, that is when something comes into my bubble and then it gets cleaned up also. But at that moment, I might feel it for a minute.
What do you mean when you say you feel it? What kind of
Lisa, when you
symptom?
feel something, do you feel pain of some sort?
When I feel
It's
something.
like all of a sudden you get a glitch, you're like walking. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know, it might be a hook in my neck, or, you know, I'm joking around, but that's what happens to us. If you're in a, gosh, there's so many examples that I could use. My mom, I'll just use myself, okay? I don't want anybody to feel picked on. So my mom, I'm talking to my mom on the phone, or I know I need to get a hold of my mom. All of a sudden my knee and my hip. And I'm like going, would someone please get me a cane? You know, that kind of a feeling. Or Vicky's knee, that's a good one. Or I'm talking my sister, I know I need to call my sister because I just got a headache. And I can't figure out why I've got a headache because I never get headaches. So now I have a headache. So there's different things with different people, and it just kind of branches out. It's like a branch. If you took a drop of water, or a couple drops of water, or like water paint, and you let that go, it's going to branch out and go whatever. Exactly the same way it works. Cording does. When you have a sphere going on around you, especially if you take a lot of classes, right? If you do Psychic Institute, or if you take another psychic class and you're finding that you're having a headache, or you have a neck ache, or you have a hook in your back, or something like that, I can guarantee you your space is not clear. So then you have to learn how to clear your space so that you can walk with ease. Now, sometimes you're not even supposed to be there, but you don't know that because you're just trying to follow up what's your guidance. What should I do? Should I take this class? Should I not take this class? Is this important? Is this something that's going to help me? Am I going to be able to help enough people with that? Is it worth my time? Is it not worth my time? And that's when your guidance kicks in. But it's very hard to follow your guidance if your space is not clear, because there's all this stuff. that goes above your head that keeps you from having your full connection. And when you start doing these spheres, all of a sudden things start getting more crystal clear. You start to see things. All of a sudden you heard something. And you're like, oh, I hear something. What is that? You know, and so that is important. It's the purpose of what you're doing here. It's the only thing that gives you any peace. If you don't have that connection, go to a mall. Where did we go? We went to the aquarium, and all these people, and I mean, and that was a fun place. And you're like looking at all these people, and no one's got a clue. And you're like, wow. And where was it? We went into a restaurant. Now, I don't know if this is the angels playing a joke or what, but we went into hometown buffet because I wanted to take Vicki to something different. So we go, and it happens to be family night where kids are free. Okay, so, and there's all these people running around. We're sitting there eating, and someone walked in with the angels. I mean, that I could feel that they actually had a connection. And this place is packed. And I'm trying to figure out who it was. You know, I never did figure out who it was exactly, but I knew when they walked in the building right away. So I was looking at the line and trying to figure out who was it that was saying hello to just get that connection. But it was interesting because the whole place was packed. There were hundreds of people eating and kids everywhere. And I was like, oh, God. But it was interesting because that's what happens. When you have that many people that don't have a clue and then they all get plugged into your space, it's very difficult to make an educated decision when there's so much muddy water, right? It's like giving your kids, if you're teaching and you give your kids a whole slew of stuff, how are they supposed to sort through that? Make it as easy as possible for them to sort it out, clear it up, and get away all the extra stuff so that you can clean it up and you can hear your own connection. Because then you'll see right through someone else's stuff if they're not telling the truth, or if they're feeding you a line, or if someone's lying to you. Any of those things you'll see right through it right away. Makes it really, it's cheaper. Right? I keep wanting to say Norman. Who's Norman? Do you know a Norman?
Not at all.
Okay. Does anybody know a Norman here?
Uncle.
Huh?
My uncle.
Your uncle, Norman?
Mhm.
In Florida?
Maybe, yeah.
Indiana? Okay.
I have a question after looking at your paper here.
Yes, sir.
When you say Legions of Archangel Michael, grid level 1 spherical around me,
That's
do
number
you
one.
then start envisioning that sphere around you?
Mhm.
And then when you go down and instead of saying the grace Elohim, wouldn't you just say the Legions of Archangel Michael, infuse your grid with the energies of golden white fire in that paragraph instead of the first one, since it refers to the Legions of Archangel
Well,
Michael?
what I did was, this was channeled. So if something doesn't quite follow, you're going to go with what guidance you have yourself
Mhm.
as you're going through this. But the basic is here. So you're going to be able to figure it out. You're going to use your own guidance too. So when we get into the Legions of Archangel Michael, grid level 1, spherical around me, grace Elohim, grid level 2. Now you're going through different levels,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to figure out where you're at.
Yeah, see right here, this paragraph says, the first part says Legions of Archangel Michael up here, and then
Oh,
the
you're on the
paragraph,
other page.
no, I'm on the
you're
same page, but down here it says,
Use your grid with angels.
then it talks Legions of Archangel Michael, infuse your grid with. It seems like that refers to that first part, grid
Mhm.
1.
But this goes into another part of it.
And then the grace Elohim, the second sphere,
Uh-huh.
would seem to refer to this one, paragraph here, where it says, you're referring to grace Elohim, infuse your grids with your frequencies.
Mhm.
So it seems like you would, I mean, my logic says to say this one, would,
Mhm.
when you're talking, referring to Archangel Michael.
Mhm. Well, what
rather
I
than this one.
did was, like I said, it was just strictly channeled,
Uh-huh.
and I was more after, like, me, after spelling. I wanted to make sure it was spelled right because when I'm typing, I type very, very fast. It is not, it's like, I don't go and second guess stuff. I
Yeah.
just listen. So I understand what you're saying,
'Cause it looks like
but I
it's-
don't think it's finished. That's why you're doing this. Okay, so
Oh.
it's Grace Elohim,
Yeah,
and
so
you're
it
going
seems
into
like,
it.
this looks like when you're saying Legions of Archangel Michael, you're invoking that grid level 1 spherical around me.
Mhm.
And it seems like you would
Grace
sense,
Elohim, what does that mean?
oh no, I hadn't even got that far. It's just around me, and that, then you create that sphere,
Mhm.
and then that sphere starts to spin, and then you say Legions of Archangel Michael, which is down here rather than the one up here.
Mhm.
Infuse
Well,
your
let's
grid with
finish
the
this
energies of
and see
golden
how that
light
sounds.
fire.
Okay? Because if you feel you need to change it, this is what I have done,
Oh, okay.
okay? And it seems to work pretty good. So I don't question it. I just listen to what they say and follow directions. It seems to be less painful for me that way. So if they tell me not to go somewhere, I don't go anywhere because I know that if I do go, I'm in it and I have to walk through it, and sometimes it's not so much fun. So
I like it when you reverse the spin.
Yeah,
Reverse the spin.
with the
Same
same
stuff.
stuff. Yes, they do, and they try to do it that way, so it's kind of funny. But it was interesting because they said shock, trauma, grief, despair, shame, guilt, tension, anxiety, energetic imprinting. This is where some of the people that know how to work in the higher realms, that work in it's called all time in creation. It's a different dimensions just before source, and they're very, very large dimensions. This is where they imprint, and imprinting can really dumb you down, so to speak. So you don't think that you have whatever to make educational decisions. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Can you do it for someone like my parents, you know? Can you-
Absolutely. That's the
can-
whole key to doing this, is so you can help not only yourself, you start with you automatically, but there are people in your bubble that you would love to help, but you don't know how to help them without interfering.
So you don't
So
need the
you're cleaning
permission?
their space.
You don't need the permission?
When
just-
you're cleaning someone's space, they're not even aware that it's going on.
Mhm.
They don't even know. So yeah, if you, gosh, when there's different people, okay, when someone is dealing with certain things, when I'm working with someone one-on-one, they have their course, and then they have 3, 4, 5 people in their space that are on their course with them. Now, it makes it very difficult to move forward. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And it's very hard when you have that many people in your space to move forward. So, to give you peace of mind with what you're doing and the information that you are working on receiving so you can become your fullest potential of who you are here. You cannot move forward if you're constantly looking back worried about people. So if you can trust your crew and know that they're going to be taken care of, guess what that allows you? It gives you the freedom to rise up even above what's going on here, which allows for your ascension in its fullest self. Yes, you can, and your parents would welcome it. Because what it relieves is a lot of pressure. They don't even know that it's coming from them. It's like you walk into energetically. You can walk into a home that's clean, and you can walk into a home that's really dirty. And I mean, I walked into a house where I was just trying to find a place to put my foot. You know, that was back in the day when I was a Jehovah's Witness, so, you know, not anymore. But that is, and you would walk in, and I remember looking at the energy going, this is not energetically reflective at all of who you are portraying yourself to be over here. And then you walk into that, and it's like, wait a minute, something's going on here. So with your parents, what I do with my mom and dad, see, I can use my story because I'm not affecting anyone else. When I get on the phone with my mom and dad, first thing I do is clear the space. My parents are still Jehovah's Witnesses. They are awesome people. They are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing at this time, in this space, in this realm. So I don't interfere with anything, but I do clean, and I clean their space good. I went to their house one time, and they studied the Bible with drug addicts, and retired prostitutes, you know, so you can imagine some of the stuff. And I went one time, and my mom was having some pretty severe health issues, and so was my dad. And they told me to go. So I drove down there, and I'm driving up, and I'm like, what in the heck is that big black thing across, what is going on above my parents' home? And I walked in, and I felt like I needed to bend down, because I couldn't keep my head up. And
keep it below the smoke.
it was bad, you know. It was, I couldn't believe it. And so what I ended up telling them is, you know what, you need to stop having these drug addicts come to your house and study the Bible with them. I said, you guys need to go to their house or meet them at a park, go somewhere else, do not bring them into your home. Well, that night, I went out to my car, and all I wanted to do was get my suitcase, and I was getting pushed, and I pushed back. And I get pushed back in, and then I turned around and I faced what was going on. And I was like, what are you doing here in this place? My parents are like two little angels just going around the world trying to save everybody, you know. That's what they do. And so it took some time to clear it. And their health improved. Their joy improved. All of a sudden they could stand up straight. I could stand up straight. I could sleep. You know, it was like all these different things. And I wasn't afraid to go to my car. That was the weirdest thing, is to go out into, they're living in the country on top of a hill. I mean, it's beautiful. So for me to be like going, what is going on here? And then to see that go on, I was like, okay, so let's clean this all up. And they haven't had it since. So that's
You saw
the
the
key.
entity or the energy?
The entity. It was giant. It was like a big giant, like a spidery crab thing. That's what it looked like. And it moved like that. And it was over the house.
Wow.
So, you know.
Sounds like a sci-fi movie.
I don't like them. So, but it was creepy, and it didn't leave. It was feeding off of them.
So all you need to do is just
Parasite.
clearing one time and it takes care of it?
Well, when we're done with this, because right now it's finally slowed down. Once we're finished with this, that's just one sphere. So yeah, we're doing it extensively, but this will take but a few minutes the first couple of times, and then it becomes automatic. And there are words you can say that will automatically just clear the place before you get there. Clear the road before you get there. Clear the road before you even get in your car, you know, that kind of thing. So that way, what happens is when you're in a little fender bender, or you're hurt, you get in an accident, something happens, you bump your head all of a sudden. None of these are ever accidents. Every single one of them is some type of interference in your space. It's kind of interesting. All of a sudden you bumped your head when you're talking to somebody, or when the higher self sometimes will scoot us. They'll kind of, you know, they'll get our attention too.
Well, I had somebody get mad at me last night because a balloon blew up in their face that I had provided at a party. That's what they got.
How's that?
Huh?
How's that possible? Is it something you did?
Yeah, I brought the balloons.
Oh, and it was your fault?
So according to that person, when the balloon blew up in their face, that was my fault. So they got mad at me.
Okay.
Was that
No, how
considered-
about
is that considered
them clearing
interference?
their own space so that that doesn't happen?
Oh. Maybe.
There's a point where we have
And
to
then I
take
noticed
responsibility for
that
ourselves.
the rest of the balloons kept following her around.
Are you torturing people?
Not on purpose. Is that an example of interference or whatever you call it?
Well, I'd have to look at the whole thing, but I want to say that I wouldn't give anyone that much power, and I would definitely call in clearing in my space so it doesn't go on, because maybe there was something they were supposed to learn from it, right?
It was a birthday
The
party. It
balloons
was a
keep
birthday. It was a
following
birthday
me.
party.
Can you imagine Olga? Somebody is at a party and all the balloons start following him because
Well,
he
the
got
balloons
mad.
were kind of like this big, and there was some dancing, and it just apparently got close to her face and blew up, and she said, "Oh, what, my face is all feels all."
That sounds like an energetic hit, though. That
What?
is an energetic hit, but her field was not up. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I know that dogs can fracture me. If a dog barks really loud, I can, that will do that. So now that it stops spinning, okay. Now we're going to fill this sphere up, okay. Legions of Archangel Michael, not lesions, legions.
Say it correctly.
There's a big difference. Infuse your grid with the energies of the golden white fire, love, grace, purity, freedom, and victory, Elohim. The unified chakra, clarity, full connection to spirit, tolerance, clear communication, health, abundance, following spirit without hesitation, mastery, sovereignty, serenity, centeredness, living heaven, the violet flame of light, balance, beauty, focus, integration, energies, groundedness and support, and anything else you feel you need at this time. And anything else that hasn't been mentioned in this or any other language and which you know needs to be in the space at this time. It's super, super detailed. So that way you don't miss anything. And that's why it's written down for you. Because it's too easy to forget something.
We have to remember every single word and every phrase.
Actually, every single one. No, I'm just kidding. And if you forget one, I'm
It's
just
a
kidding.
fissure.
The balloons will follow you.
Yeah, they'll get into that crack. Blow up in my face.
Yeah, really. Well, that just sounds like somebody that their space wasn't quite clear the way it needed to be. So when the field feels full, because you feel the whole sphere, you say, seal the grid, thank you.
Can we see it as golden light too, or something?
Yes,
like that?
actually. You can do the golden light. Golden light, right?
Mhm.
But golden fire consumes anything that's not, they don't mess around. So golden light of the angels, they do the same thing, right? Very generous. Very generous.
So we say this and then fill it with golden light and golden fire.
Works pretty good when I'm dealing with other people. The golden fire kind of consumes everything in the way. And then I like to use pink fire because that's love, right? And it's also destructive to anything that's not of light. So pink fire will kind of mutilate anything that's not of light. So I'm okay with that. I'm kind of tired of playing that game, so let's get down to business. It gets in the way of who you are. And if something's always in the way of who you are, how are you supposed to expand? It's exhausting. Yeah. Okay. So, then it says, angels of the central sun, continuum, set your grid for harmonization and optimization of electrical, magnetic, and gravitational frequencies. ensure that my fields remain harmonized with all of the electronic and mechanical devices in my space, and that I and the devices in my space remain harmonized in frequency with any electromagnetic surges, ley line activity, shaman resonance, and any other electromagnetic, gravitational events and conditions occurring in this area. Thank you. Now, what this means is there are several of us that have had trouble with our phones, troubles with your computers. You go to work on something and all of a sudden your phone won't work or whatever. This is the first Mercury retrograde that I have not had a phone blow up on me. Although it's tired, they have to work very hard. But to ask for all the frequencies to harmonize so that you're not having conflict with it and it's not constantly pounding you. So now you're neutralizing all the energy, the EMFs. Okay, and there's also a quick EMF that's coming up too for harmonization when you're working with computers, if you're around a lot of electronics and things like that. There's some good stuff there for that too.
So why does that happen? Because it doesn't happen to me, but some of my friends, like constantly their phones is breaking, the computer's breaking. What's going on with that?
They have a lot of different things in their field and their frequency is not harmonized. So they're constantly, you're doing this. Instead of just raising it up so that you guys fit, it's a constant conflict, you know, and that's part of it. Now, also their field, there's something to do with their field not being necessarily clear, and that can do that too. Okay, interference. When I get on the phone with a client, at times I have to clear everything out before we even get on the phone, because otherwise there's no conversation. The phone's hanging up. And, or if I'm being attacked. If someone is really, really angry, or if they are full of entities, or if I'm being attacked in some way, or I'm going into someone's field that's being attacked, a lot of times my phone will do that. It'll shut down. And it'll turn off. They've shut it off. They're like, nope, you're not going to do this one. I'm like, oh, but they're, you know, and I want to fix it for them, but it's something that needs to be happening on a different level, not here on the phone. So I've had it where I was on a phone call with someone that was having some problems, and it was get off the phone right now and do your work. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to go right now. I didn't even wait for their response. And then we went straight into clearing their fields so we can move forward. So sometimes it depends on what it is. You have to, I mean, it's kind of like going to the doctor trying to figure out several different things. You have one symptom, you're sick to your stomach. Now that can be like a million different things. It could be food poisoning, or it could be a virus, you know, depending on. And so when their phones go out, there's usually several things going on at the same time. It's always complicated. It's never only one thing. That'd be too easy, right? All right.
Is this clearing our entire field, doing the spheres?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. And how do we apply it to like a client or somebody? You know, be in our healing room and then leave. You know, how do we apply it to them?
When you leave them in the healing room, you mean?
No, if you're working on a client in your healing room and you want to provide this to them so that when they walk out, this will walk out with them.
You just hold that vision in there. Okay, so you're in the same bubble, working together, right? All right? And when you separate the bubble, right, they go with their bubble and you go with yours. So you're allowing them to, it's like when you blow bubbles and they are cooked together.
So you don't have to say anything particular, you just set an intention.
You see it go. You see that bubble around them. You've just done a huge healing on them.
Okay, so you're just splitting that bubble. You have the bubble now, they have the bubble too.
Very cool. It's all intention, right?
Yeah.
So, did that, healing activity. which I found very interesting when I do this a lot when I'm talking to the angels. When I'm having a conversation with someone, let's say I'm doing a reading for someone or doing a consultation, I'm always saying thank you for taking care of this, thank you for doing that, you know, and I'm trusting that everything is being done. Now it says circle security, realign and reharmonize with upper dimensional grid works, clearing all parasites, distortions off the grids, infuse frequencies for clearer communication with spirit. Seal grid, thank you, Michael. Sometimes I say Legions of Archangel Michael, or I say just Michael. Sometimes I call him Mike. And the Central Sun team. I don't pick just one because there's always a group. All right?
Could you tell me to visualize the grid? Because you say grid level 1.
Uh-huh.
So and then you seal it later. So how does that look like? You know?
How do you envision
How do you
the grid?
how do you envision it? 'Cause
Grid
I got
sealed?
The grid.
the grill.
The grid.
Uh-huh.
How do you envision? I envision the sphere, but how do you envision the grid?
The grid is still a part of it. It's like, it looks like sacred geometry. So the grid is just like the sphere, only it's now a sacred geometry. Okay, and these are more along the lines of a quick fix to intensify, let go of, remove quickly, just like this. Once you've done what we did earlier, it will go fast. Once you've done it a couple times, it turns into like maybe 10 minutes. That's how fast it will shift on you so that you can do it. And I have clients that use this, they work in the medical field, and they're bombarded all day long with sick people and doctors with their egos and all that stuff, and they're constantly being hit like crazy. And this works the best for them. So it's pretty interesting. I mean, for this person, it feels like they walk into a burning building every day. I don't tell them that, but I was like, whoa, what a contract, you know? So that time is changing. Oh, look, he comes back and graces us with his presence. Sorry. No, I'm just giving you a bad time. At least it's not a balloon coming in the door.
I want it blowing up in my face.
Yeah, those are fracturing. That can fracture somebody. That sharp, loud sound, especially if you're in a really peaceful space and then that happens. Oh yeah, there's definitely an invasion going on, but it's not yours. So everybody has one of these, right?
Oh, I didn't get one.
You didn't get one? Oh, we are short one then. I can copy it off. I thought I had more. It's interesting how this copying. These are just quick fixes of different things. It goes into what the Legions of Archangel Michael are, the crystalline fields, angels of the Central Sun Continuum, Central Circle of Archangel Michael Security. So these are different names that maybe you're not familiar with or whatever, and I felt like you guys needed to know. At the top of the page it says, the angels of the Central Sun set your grid for harmonization, optimization of electrical, magnetic, and gravitational frequencies. Remember I said it's like a continuum of what we already had in earlier. Okay. Ensure that my fields remain harmonized with all electronic and frequency with any electromagnetic surges, ley line activities, blah, blah, blah. And then it talks about circle of security, realign and harmonize with the upper dimensional grid works, clearing all parasites, distortions, off grids, and fuse frequencies for clearer communication with spirit. Seal the grid, thank you. For a quick EMF adjustment, such as when you are working near computers or other electronic devices, including chips in your vehicles, pagers, cell phones, cordless phones, etc.
That's what that was for, right? For the quick
This is
EMF.
what's gonna happen. Archangels of the central sun continuum assist, thank you, harmonize all the frequencies of all electronic devices in my space to my fields. So you're asking that to be raised up so that it works with you. Otherwise you find, it's like when, it's always funny when we do a retreat and everybody starts coming in. It's like the house is already spinning, but then somebody gets on board and it's like this for a minute, and then it starts to spin, and then another person comes in, and then if you get 3 or 4, you're all like this for a minute as you're all trying to get your balance to move forward and to balance out each other's energies. And we had that the last retreat. It was pretty extreme with when somebody got on board. It was very obvious that someone that pushed it all the way down, and then everybody comes back up, and it's like sitting on a dinghy, that is in a big wave, and you're just trying to figure out to make sure that you don't fall off the ship for a minute as it balances out and comes back out in. And that is what EMFs can do too. When you're working with computers, or if you're working with somebody that's got a big field, they'll come into your space and all of a sudden you're irritated and you can't figure out why. Or you feel somebody walks into your space and you're like gritting your teeth and you're trying to figure out what in the heck's going on. And that's that whole feeling of trying to get that balance because they just shoved you off your grid and you're coming back in. Okay.
So when do we use the first 2 paragraphs?
Well, this one is an extension of what you already have. This is about getting the electromagnetic frequencies back in order with you and sync with you. That's the quick EMF adjustment if you're working in offices, things like that. I know that when you're working with computers a lot, there are times where there's like nothing will work for you. You'll hit this button or that button and it just doesn't work. And I've had it myself. I'm at home in my own ship, minding my own business, doing my own work, and all of a sudden it's just like nothing will work, nothing will work. I'll type something. Oh, I love it when I go to put something on the Angelic Institute of Light. When I try to post a picture and I'll have it all written out, and I've just spent a half an hour listening and writing and making sure all the spelling and dots and commas and all that stuff done. I know. And I go to load it up and it freezes and the whole thing goes blank. And I was like, I'm done. I'm totally fried right now. We're going to let go of this. So that's when this comes in handy. Catch that before it goes there. Okay? Says, are you heavily mutating and clearing? This is interesting because when it says spin out density, obsolete DNA encodements and thought forms along with all associated emotions, cellular memory, dark force, seed thoughts. Pictures of reality, human genetic consciousness, holographic programming, entities, beings, structures, implants, devices, obsolete pictures of reality, struggle, resistance, and fatigue. Infuse peace, hope, connection to spirit, surrender, trust, grace, and purity, Elohim. Require of me whatever it takes and ever expanding capacity, knowing I have all the time in the world to get everything done that really needs to be done.
What do you mean by mutating?
Let's see, I'm trying to figure out where you got it from.
Are you heavily mutating?
Okay, shifting, mutating, changing.
Assembly.
Yeah, it can be anything from mutating as in where if you're being like attacked, or you can be ascending. When you go through huge adjustments like you went through.
I'm still going through an adjustment.
And Olga's gone through a lot of different changes lately. So there's a lot of people that are going through different changes, and as they mutate or shift, because it's mutating, shifting, you can feel off balance. It can make you feel like you're out of, like not even in your body, or it can make it very difficult for you to ground. And when you're not grounded, it leaves you vulnerable, because for you to be completely, fully in your fullest presence, you have to have an anchoring here and an anchoring here. Between the two, it opens up so you can expand. If you are only anchored up here, then things come up through the bottom. A big thing at my house, this is one of the biggest lessons for me, was because the house is always spinning, okay? It's got the top and the bottom of the Merkaba, and it's constantly moving. But if it's not moving in sync, and you got one slower than the other, and the other part's, the higher part is going faster, and this part is going slower, and you're not paying attention to the bottom part. So what happens, and especially in Shastas, it comes up through the bottom. And it's not light.
So this
So
would be
you
good.
have to be aware of anchoring yourself here,
Mhm.
so that you can do both, and then you're not having that vulnerability. I've had it where there's several people where they are vulnerable, and I couldn't figure out why they're totally ascended beings. Why are they having this and this and this happen? And what it was is they were not anchored. So what happens is they'll get hurt, or they'll have this or that happening. If you're anchored, this stuff, you're always walking in your awareness. It doesn't matter if you're at work, at a regular job, or where you get paid, or whatever you want to call it for the moment. The energy is, you're going for an energy exchange, financial. But if you are anchored and you're paying attention, all this stuff kind of gets out of your way. You know, when you go to work and everybody, they're trying to put their drama on, and you're like, I'm anchored here and I'm anchored here. I am totally in balance, and all your little drama is not mine. Just set it right there. I'll get to it when I can. It's the bottom line. It's balance.
Is this statement good for me, since I'm going through that shifting right now? So this is a good one for me.
It is. So, it is. Okay. So then they had me write down just a few things about what these technique requests in the following groups, what their specific jobs are and their functions. Explain the Legions of Archangel Michael. You already know who Archangel Michael is, okay? The crystalline fields. This is very interesting, because the crystalline fields, a lot of people don't understand what that means. They have an idea, but they might not quite get that. It's actually like, they refer to it as a divine lubricant. It looks like an iridescent gel of snow. So, God, what was that stuff called back in the day? The aqua gel stuff, that blue jar, and people would glob it on their hair and stuff. You know what I'm talking about, okay? Some of you youngins won't know.
Yeah, I know where
the aqua gel was thick and it was sticky. And now you would get it as a hair rub or hair glue or whatever. But that's what it looks like. And a lot of times if you ignite the crystalline fields in your sphere or in your realm or whatever you're doing, when I ignite the crystalline spheres, what happens is it lights up like a glow, and then everything that's not of light is exposed immediately. I can see what's going on in the upper realms, and there you'll see something go. You'll see something dark going through they think they're getting away with something, and they'll be going like this. And then they disappear. So it's kind of interesting when you say ignite the crystalline fields, you are lighting up that particular realm, and you are taking command of your realm, and all of a sudden all this stuff's exposed, and now they are no longer around. And it's kind of fun to work with that, because it's kind of comical, actually, when they get caught. So, when you're using it in someone's field, grace is to be used on the human energy system. And the field is for layers of the upper realms for clearing anything not of light. So when you're using it in somebody's field, and you're like working on somebody, and you do the crystalline field around their body, you're doing a very soft, loving energy, not, I don't know what they want to call it. They said Jerry curl style, where it's like, you know, that's when you're doing the fields in your realm. Okay? Angels of the Central Sun Continuum. These are a group of beings that originate from another universe. They are pure energy beings. They are the sentient embodiment of physical forces inhabitants through the electromagnetic shifts we are experiencing, preparatory to zero-point ascension. They are always available to assist on request. Central Circle of Archangel Michael Security. They are like the cosmic traffic police, Archangel Michael and his legions. The job is to set up, keep clear, and maintain interdimensional and inter-universal communication grids. This is a technique you ask the specific group to set up at a level of the grid, designating the geometric shape, size, and location. Spherical grids are the most stable. So when you're working in a circle, it's actually more stable because it's more solid. One integrates with the other, okay? When you're working in two square, flat, linear, things like that, it has a weakened point. And these spheres that you are working with, when you do one of these, it lasts anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. You can reinforce it, but it loses the integrity. It's better if you do it on a regular basis until it completely holds. Nico has decided he likes the butterflies. Oh, can you believe that? Who said he was going to go after him? Wow, that was funny. It's not really much he can hurt. Really, he'd hurt himself before. That was funny.
On the spheres, you said there's some shortcuts, so you don't have to remember all
Yeah,
the
we're going
words.
to get into that.
Oh, okay.
So, there you go. That is that one. Is it now, Olga? You need one, right? But I don't have any right now, so I have to give it to you. So please forgive me. Goes more into different things you can do under different circumstances. Okay. Again, that sphere of what we covered and what that feels like when they're going. Okay, we only did the one. We can do the other two if you like. I do believe we have enough time for everything, which is good, because when we do that, you can feel the difference. Good. We're doing good on time, actually, which is great. Okay, they said we're good. You got the idea of what it takes. And when you do the second one, it's the same thing as the first, only you're doing it smaller within the grid. Okay?
So you start large and then go small each
yes,
time.
because it gets more intensified around your field. That's the key. You can go smaller and large. You can go small, large, large. It tends to not be as potent when you're working on yourself. If you're working for somebody else, you can go smaller than large. But for yourself, start with large and go small because it gets even more intensified. Okay? Tools for protection of your own personal fields. There are several commands to invoke protection for your own personal fields. The order of protection is given below. That is, if the first command is not powerful enough to deal with the intensity of the energies, then also invoke the next protection grid and so on and so forth, until you feel at peace and fully protected. It is best to place all 3 protection grids on yourself if the energies are highly negative. The protection grids are a bubble of light for toxic surroundings. A lot of you are familiar with that bubble of light, okay? For children, a lot of times when they're little, I came up with a song for a bubble of light that they can draw their own bubble when they're in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, that kind of thing. Then second is a lightship for psychic attack. And then there's the central sun energy with the Legions of Archangel Michael integrity sphere for maximum protection, which is what we had started with. The lightship's kind of interesting. I worked with them before, and I've seen the cities of light, where I would go and visit the different cities of light. There were actually 12 at the time, and to see what they look like and how they operate is very, very interesting. But a ship that that comes with you, it's almost like, let's say, like a pet, but kind of like you. It's like you won't go anywhere without it. And they're so funny. They're showing me everybody trying to park their ships at the same time. Parking lot in Walmart or something.
It's not in the towaway zone.
You're in the towaway zone. So that is a very interesting thing, because when they gave me a ship, I don't know, was it a couple of weeks ago? Or a month ago or something like that. It was definitely a very souped up type of a, let's just say Kevin was very jealous. Okay.
How do you obtain a ship, lightship?
They brought it to me. I didn't even ask for it.
For those who don't
They
get
brought
one,
it to me. The ship is probably, this particular ship is about 50 miles across. And it looks like when, you know those hot air balloons where you pull the thing and the fire goes, that kind of thing, that gas, whatever, when they're lifting up the bubble? Okay. The whole thing has all these, let's see, where they fire. And it fires, and they'll fire over here, and that fires over here, and that fires over here. And when it gets really rocking and rolling, it fires like crazy. And it'll be going everywhere. And they're different colors. The flames are different colors. They said that while it was being built, that it was going to have all these different things. Different modalities, different options, where it breaks apart. It will actually go in several different directions at the same time. Be used for, it looks like, transportation. So at this time, when they gave it to me, and while it was being operated, they said, you're going to give Kevin the keys, which I thought was kind of interesting, because he was having a fit. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not the one that says this. They're the ones designing this thing. He goes, well, what's it do? And I said, I don't know what it all does yet. I said, that's like having a computer that does everything and you don't even know what it does. You're just going, I just want to turn it on and turn it off, So it's interesting to see what is happening there. Do I know it all about it yet? No, I don't. I do know when the flames start showing up, I mean, they've got all kinds of different fires they're putting out at the same time. I had no idea it was for psychic protection at the time. That was just something here, cool for you. And I thought, oh, how cool. What am I going to do with it? Kind of a thing. That's what light ships are for, psychic protection. So, 1B, the light ship, connect to your higher self and pause briefly between each command and say, Archangels of the Central Sun, or you can say the brothers of the Palegiean and Central Sun forces, I command you to prepare a 12th dimensional lightship for myself. How do you get one?
Just say that.
Okay.
Okay.
Install the bubble of light. Link to the ship. And you want to pause as you're saying these different things. You don't want to just read it through, because these are commands that you're asking for. Prepare and install bubble of light. Activate. I command this bubble of light will hold for the next up to 48 hours. So it's interesting when you're dealing with, apparently, you guys are going to be using this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be going over this. Because I keep asking myself, this is kind of, it's extremely advanced. It's not something I share with a lot of people. And I knew it wasn't going to be a large group. So if you remember this and you start to use it, what will happen is you're going to start using it. You're going to be doing some interdimensional traveling. Okay, you're going to be able to go to different countries, help with situations, and not only this country but universes. So, all right. I just wish I knew half the people that are coming through today. All right. We did the lightship, the bubble light. Did we do the Palladian brothers? Okay, central sun, Palladian energy, integrity sphere. Now, how many of you know how to connect to your higher self? Or notice what that feels like? I know that you've experienced it. Every single one of you have experienced it. But do you know when you are connected? And hope it is when she's connected. You guys pick up on it. Yeah.
I don't know how to do this.
It's the feeling. It's the feeling of when we started, and I said, just breathe. Breathe in for 5, hold for 3, let go for 5. What is happening is you're letting go of your left brain, one that calculates everything, because now you're counting, right? And as you breathe in, and then you bring it all the way in. And as soon as I started playing the bowl and saying certain things, it was automatically just kind of dropping in. And you could feel it. You could feel elevated for that moment, right? That's when you're connected in your higher self.
I sense a very bright light, like a star,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just intensifying from my my heart chakra.
From
whatever.
within?
From within, yeah.
Has everyone experienced that? For a moment? I think so. But I'm not sure. But I think I might have. But wait a minute, let me think about it for a second. As soon as I get in my left brain, I'm not sure about it.
Something comes in a lot that I don't
bliss
know.
for like a second.
It sort of comes and goes.
Does that sound about right?
Something does come in a lot. I'm just not sure what that is.
Is it a blissful feeling? Very
yeah,
light?
it's kind of like this energy. It feels good. Yeah.
And it feels good?
Yeah.
Okay. If it feels good and it's energy, it's usually your higher self. Have you felt that before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you know what it feels like. Because that's, the meditation is like, we're going to be getting more into that even with the Angelic Institute of Light, because meditation, breathing, information, and thought process is #1 in connecting to your higher self. That's why the bowls with sound, with the counting, it keeps your brain so active that your higher self can just go, okay, there you are. As soon as you feel that, you know you're connected. But when you don't have that and your mind is going, I don't know, man. I don't know if I got it. I don't know. I might have gotten it, but I'm not sure about that. But I wish somebody could tell me for sure if I got it or not.
That's Thomas speaking. Doubting Thomas.
Is that what that is?
Thomas, yeah, doubting Thomas.
All I know is they play with me all the time, Okay, they're always teasing me. Now I know for sure, but I did go around going, did I get that? Okay, is that the higher self? Or is that just my angelic being? Okay, wait a minute, is that you guys or is that me that's talking? You know, go back and forth.
Yeah, what's mine and
And-
what's yours, you know?
Mhm.
You start wondering.
You're trying to figure out which one's what and trying to sort through. And like I was doing I was trying to help somebody and I did a small channel and I did 3 different beings within an hour. And at one point it was like, okay, that's enough, just shut up now, you know, kind of a thing. And so that's when you start to think, okay, is that my higher self or is that a channel of a being? And who is that I'm channeling at this time? And I'm very, very picky about that. I've always been very picky about that. So now they're starting to tell me who it is and when they come through and what they sound like and then I get told what happened afterwards most of the time. So it's a pretty cool feeling when you do that. And when you have the protection in place, then it makes it easier for you to allow your higher self.
So kind of question, do you, like when you say connect to the higher self, is it like, is it the intention is to constantly connect to a higher self? Or there's a balance, you know?
Good
Yeah.
question.
That's a question that came up with me too. Balance of that.
The balance is key, but you can always be in your higher self can always be within you. What it does is it brings you a peace so that you no longer, you're no longer being manipulated by the energy here. So let's say so-and-so said something to offend you. Your higher self kicks in and says, no, we're not going to play that. Your higher self says, you know, I recognize what you're trying to do and it's not going to work. So you're going to stay focused on what your job is, whatever it is you're here for, and you're no longer letting somebody pull you off balance. That's a balance, right? In this kind of situation, we go into our higher self. We're completely free to be completely in our higher self. We're not operating machines. We're in a space of protection, which is what this is all about. The legions that have shown up for this meeting, the way they start showing up and how large it is, it would blow your mind. It is bigger than the ocean. That's how big that is. And to every time I look over and I see what's going on in the upper realms and how they're shifting and adjusting. Who's going to come? Who's going to get help? Who's going to go where? And what are they doing here? And as long as your higher self is connected with you, you don't have that disconnect. You're in a place where you can do quite a bit of stuff to help others and yourself. The key is others. More comes, the more you help others, the more comes. And the more your intention is to help others, the more comes. The more gifts show up, the more opportunities show up, the more, how would you say it? Wishes come true. Would you say? Yeah. You've had so many wishes come true this year. I mean, I've watched all kinds of stuff open up after one, right after another. And your connection, the beings that hang out with you, and along with family members being blessed through your work. And that's what happens as you do that. As you do your work, it opens up for others. And then those that associate with you grow. They can't be in your space and not raise personally.
Raising their vibration.
Yeah, automatically, they just step right up into your vibration. That's it. So, it was something I asked a long time ago, and I didn't know about protection at that time. But I said, let everybody I look at, no matter who I am, if I'm mad at them, if I'm upset with them in any way, shape, or form, let anyone I look at, let them be blessed. And it doesn't matter whether I've seen them on the street, where I'm driving, if I'm angry, it doesn't matter. Just let them be blessed. And they said, so be it. So with
Reptilian,
that came,
reptilian or no reptilian? Right?
let them be blessed.
Gotcha.
Well, if that means that they have to learn whatever that lesson is that they are here for in their reptilian field, then let them hurry up and get it over with, please. Because you're wasting our time with what we're doing here. So, yeah, no kidding, huh? But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know about reptilians. I didn't know about ETs. I just knew I had a lot of angels, and I just wanted to bless everybody I saw. Now I know things, and there's protection in place, and there are things that are being vibrationally removed, and things that are being replaced with a better vibration. Because what happens when you lose something, you get something better, right? So, did I answer your question? Because I'll go all over.
Because I think maybe it's a different subject. Because sometimes I see people who are super, super spiritual. They almost feel like they're floating. And then they don't work. You know, nothing about money, and I'm like, I don't really know if I want to be like that.
Well, the thing is then you don't operate there is a way of being so spiritually high that you are no earthly worthy. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like they just like, you know, forget about money, all the material things, and kind of completely broke, you know, from my perspective, you know. And I'm like, why, you know? So
Why would they let go like that?
or is it the way, you know, that would be, you know, if I'm completely connected to the higher self? It's just like all about the higher self.
The thing is the reason you're here is you're here to, there are certain things you're learning here, right? Okay, so if you spend all your time going up there, back there, then you're missing the whole point of the earthly journey. Was it? I'm not sure if it was Ellen. There was someone I was talking to, and they said, you're missing the point of the journey here. Every moment is a blessing that you have contracted to be here for. So why would you spend so much time climbing back up if you don't have what you got down here down yet? So between the two, it's like baking a cake. It's like you need the eggs, you need the baking soda, you need the flour, you need the sugar, you need the, you know, it's all the ingredients together that makes the cake. If you want a beautiful journey here on the earth, then you're going to learn how to work with the universal realms to bring that down. And then when you see things that, they said when you see things that you don't agree with or that bring you discomfort in one way or another of others, then you have to know how to reconnect with us so that you can bring down that energy here to balance it out. This is what we do. We go up, we bring information down, and we hand it out. And it ascends and it grows up again. And so it turns into a beautiful circle. If people are constantly up here and floating around, then they're actually completely ungrounded, which isn't exactly the ideal person you want on the road driving, you know? And then they have an experience that brings them back to the earth, an accident. Someone ungrounded and not clearing their space is the one that's going to be tripping, falling, hitting their head.
We'll bring them right back down to earth.
Yeah, it's an earthly experience, right?
Bring them right back.
Did I miss something?
You're talking about how they trip and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what?
You start
That's
to
more
fumble.
about people in your space, and you're negotiating through several different realms, including your own. And so being grounded is very important, but also your clarity of your space is important too, because you allow a lot of it because of your love for them, but a lot of times you're more helpful if you're holding your space and then allowing them to have their space, and then you can push out from your space. So that way, if you hit yourself or you scratch yourself or, oh, I don't know, slam your finger in a car door, that kind of stuff, then you know what I'm saying. Okay, then it's getting a little extreme. Okay, anytime you're hurting yourself, it's time to take a look. I was out to dinner with Vicki and Tanya, and there was an entity in the field, and I knew it, and I wasn't going to interfere because I was watching. They told me to watch. And the first thing that happens is somebody brings we're in a restaurant, brings something, and the first thing that happens is the food falls off. A server, you know how many times they put that plate down?
Mm-hmm.
Half the salad goes right in her lap.
In Tanya's lap?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And I was like, now that was a direct attack, and I knew it. And she's just trying to clean, it's okay, just clean it off. And I'm like, not so much. And so I'm watching the server, and he acted like it was no big deal. Now, I don't know, if someone drops a tossed salad in my lap, or if I drop a tossed salad in somebody's lap, I'm going to be a little bit more concerned about what that person might feel or say. And couldn't care less. And then he was gone for like 15 minutes instead of bringing her a towel. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this guy's got some cojones, you know? And what it was the interference in her field. They were trying to penetrate her field, and that's how they were picking on her. We got to the bottom of it, and it was a group of people that had come in shortly before them, recognized her, didn't like her from back in some other lifetime, and so they came in that way. So, you know, I mean, when some stuff's happening, it's better to keep your space clear. Tanya runs wide open. She always runs with her heart first, wide open, and she'll go right into something and fall right. And I'm like, Tanya, you gotta get this, you know, you gotta get this part of not letting everybody in your field. You need to know how to hold that bubble for you and your girls. She does it well with reptilians, she does it well with grays, she doesn't do it so well with everyday living. So, kind of interesting, huh? So that's where that balance comes in. So if somebody is running around in that floaty feeling and they can't make their car payment, or you find them hitchhiking, or they're going to lose their house or whatever, that is it's an ungrounded, unbalanced situation, and they do not know how to operate here. And this is where we're at. We're not up there right now. We came from there. So why would we want to just go right back up there when we came here for a reason? Let's get that, master that, and then blossom, working with the both, making the cake. So, but it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, it's all common sense anyway, but sometimes it doesn't feel very common, does it? Huh, Norman? I don't know who Norman is. I keep hearing Norman. I'm like, okay, whatever. That was very disruptive. And we all fractured. Norman. So that's the Lightship. The cool part about the Lightship thing is they can give you a really nice ride, which is kind of cool when you go to sleep. It's very fun. Okay, so the central sun plating, energy, and integrity sphere. This is a connection to your higher self. And again, you want to pause briefly between each command. Okay. Legions of Light Security Forces, I command you to prepare an energy integrity sphere over the next 48 hours to maintain my energy integrity and screen out the energies of name of person who you are in current contact with, and anyone else whom I come into contact whose energy I am processing. Okay, and there are other different ways of saying that, but what it is to, if somebody is not in their integrity, you can actually command them to be in their integrity in your space, which is kind of nice.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. It's very, very valuable. Okay? If at any time you feel exposed to heavier energies and need more protection, just say, densify sphere. As many times as you feel guided to say, densify sphere, repeat. So, a lot of times I'll use ring past knot. This is also a very, very good one. Densifying the sphere. Okay. Connect to your higher self. This is going to be interesting. Recovery from experiencing a psychic attack. We don't have anybody in this room that's ever experienced that, do we?
Maybe the balloon lady.
Maybe the balloon lady. When I've been hit, I've had some pretty unusual hits. If, for whatever reason, with all the information you're getting, which I highly doubt that you would ever be hit, but there are times where you run wide open, like I have with Tanya. Tanya runs wide open, I have run wide open, I know it. And I haven't shielded myself. There are ways to recover. And I've had it where I've had like 3 or 4 chakras blown out at a time. And where there's like nothing left from here to here. It's all black. Just, you look at it as black, shattered chakras. That's all I have. It's just a black space. And it's big. A lot of times all I can do is sleep. So this was designed to help with that, to nurture yourself and get yourself back to normal. Okay. If you were not able to shield yourself prior to a psychic attack, wrap yourself in a protective cocoon in order to prevent any further psychic attack from de-establishing your fields while you rectify your personal fields. Connect to your higher self and pause briefly between each command and say. So when you connect, you're breathing, you're doing your breath work, right? You do your breath work, go into a place of peace, and you allow your higher self to drop right in. Now, if you've been doing your meditation, that's very quick and simple. It's a very easy way to just connect with your higher self. Okay, it says, Legions of Archangel Michael and of the Central Sun, or say, brothers of the Palegiean forces and the Central Sun forces, I command you to prepare a protective cocoon for myself. You wait, and then you say, install cocoon. Are any of you feeling what I'm feeling when I say that? It's interesting. Link to the ship. Prepare and install cocoon. Activate. I command this cocoon will hold for the next, let's say, 12 hours. And what that does is allows you can do the same thing when you're sleeping, okay, where you want to just heal your body, and that's where your intention is, all right? This will, when you wake up, the best way to look at who you are and what position you're in is to check your chakras up and down to see where you're at for healing. And usually your chakras are all back in color. You have a full chakra. It's not a big empty black space. And you're feeling a lot better. Tools for protection on the dark entity itself. Sometimes it is required that the dark entity have protection grids placed around itself in order not to contaminate your fields and preventive negative energy leakage and negative impact on the immediate environment. The protection grids are the same as for the protection grids for the self. So in other words, you're isolating that particular entity away from you, your family, whatever. I have done this before, and it's not recommended anymore. But I used to do this when I was, they're calling me cocky, when I would be belligerent, or just, like, we're going to show you. And what I did was I would put them in this grid thing that they're talking about, put them in the grid, and I just plug it with my plug it into all-time creation. All-time creation is a multiple dimension. It's right before source. And I plug it in, and I leave my calling card. Crystal was here. Kind of thing, and they're all stuck in there. You can't do anything with it. And so they told me not to do that anymore. They told me not to do that. So we have the bubble light. We've already done that. Of course, it's Archangel Michael. I go to ship. So we've done all those. We've done the integrity stare. We've done the psychic attack, the dark entity one, and central simply and energy stare. So these are several things that you can use to work with different people when you're doing healing work. If you're covering, you're setting up something because you're going on a trip, or you're going into a class, or it can be used for anything you are doing now here. The beauty of it is, once you drop your higher self in and you've created this sphere around you, or whatever it is that you're working with at the time, that it will allow you to get even more out of what you're doing right now. That's the key. Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
I guess I was a little confused on this procedure here on the integrity sphere, because you go to the one and then you have options A, B, and C, but then you say one again, install sphere. So is this what you're saying?
Triple armored layer for maximum protection.
Okay, so do you?
So you can do it like a triple.
Are you saying to say install sphere? Is that on this number one down here at the very end?
That's if you're doing. You've already done it.
So you've done this previous statement, A, B, or C, or all of them, and then you say install sphere. Is that what you're saying right here? Do you say that?
Install sphere or install triple sphere.
Or you say
this is the same thing as the very first one, the quadruple sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you're adding this to it.
So this is like number 2 then in a way. So you do this first part and then you do this part, and you're still in that
You're
procedure.
installing it, yeah.
So that's like a number 2.
You're working with the archangels. You're working with the legions.
And then to continue with that, then you start with 1 again up here in the next page, right? And just go down, right? Until you're done.
Yep.
Okay.